Our next speaker is Mrs. Tamara Elsing from the Brussels Transport Authority, STIB. Tamara is a diversity manager at the and is one of the most important employer in the transport in Brussels.
Waarin genderdiversiteit een belangrijke plek inneemt.
The Brussels Transport Authority has a diversity policy which is very well developed. Tamara is in charge of the strategic policy, its implementation, and this is precisely what she appreciates most in her work. Today she's going to present a campaign fruit of her work that she started in 2020, and it's a campaign on the fight against sexism within the company.
Okay. On entend encore un petit peu le côté technique.
Tu n'es pas obligé de... Non.
Ja. Dus ik ga het in het Nederlands doen. Het is mij gevraagd om het in het Nederlands te doen vandaag.
I was asked to do my presentation in Dutch today, says Tamara to start. I know that there are many people that are listening to the interpretation, and some of the people present here are Dutch speaking. So indeed, we launched an important campaign against sexism in the company. Hi, Isabella. Tamara is saluting a colleague. I would like to introduce part of the campaign. I can't give you all the elements because this would take far too much time. But to give you some basic explanation, in 2018, we launched a broad external campaign for the public transport, with the idea of simulating people and ask them to react whenever they were witnessing harassment in the public transportation. And this is a very common place for harassment to occur. There's a physical proximity which leads some people to commit this kind of acts. We launched this campaign for the victims mainly, but also for witnesses. And we explained in this campaign how victims can react and what we can do as witnesses. Safety remains a primary concern, but you need, of course, to be able and to dare express yourself and to stop this kind of actions to occur. For this campaign, we could count on a great number of people and collaborators who told us this campaign is very nice, but we workers are also victims, and the same is true for clients. And with our colleagues, we might have the same kind of issues. There are only 12% of women employed in our company, and this is why we defined 4 axes to work on: passengers amongst themselves, which are dealing with sexistic behaviors, passengers that have this kind of behavior towards tram drivers and bus drivers and metro drivers too. And we are talking mainly about sexist insults or insults related to gender. These cases occur between collaborators, but also occur from collaborators towards passengers. And this is how we were forced to furlough one of our workers who had inappropriate behavior towards a passenger. In the framework of such a campaign with our collaborators, we thought that it could be more efficient. Within our campaign, we didn't want to limit our action to our organization, and we opted for a cross-cutting working group. Within this group, we have several partners, people in charge of safety and security, staff members who are responsible for social corporate responsibility, people that are taking care of homeless. You have the people in charge of social relations, and that's me, and also the STIB Academy, or the Training Academy of the Brussels Transport Authority. We haven't been able to meet as much as we wanted because of the COVID crisis, but we examined the situation in the field. We've been facing two kinds of situations. On one side, you had all the people, all the women saying that, of course, when you're young and wearing miniskirt, you can't expect a man not to react. And then we also had people saying, well, who were saying, if I were to be saluted inappropriately, they would certainly receive a reaction from me. So we had two different groups, the people that were more tolerant and say, well, of course, flirting is always possible, and other people who would say, no, we have to put a stop on this. So it was very difficult to find a intermediate position. So we realized there were three kind of people that considered that sexism was acceptable, and then other people saying that, okay, it's not a problem, well, saying that women should not be driving, for example, they would remain at home. So you must recognize that you have many staff workers that have this position, and then there was a group of people who were occupying a place in between these opinions. You can, of course, invest in people who are already convinced, or in people that will never be convinced, but that's spending the money to get no result. So we have to focus on the people that still need to be convinced, and these are the people that are deserving all our efforts. So we focused our campaign on an internal campaign, an awareness raising campaign to improve the well-being and the let's say kind atmosphere in the workplace, and we focused on sexism and sexist harassment, and we decided to take a distance from sexual violence, because this is a job for the external prevention advisor. It is important to realize that everyone should accept information, and that the externals believe that we are taking their place, because in those cases where needed, ladies should turn to the prevention advisors. And so, but we wanted to propose an alternate channel before, a step before the victims could turn towards the prevention counselor. the target population is all STIP workers, managers, which have to give an example, of course, and also people working at human resources, because these people are the first line of admission of complaints. We used the digital channels for this campaign, but we also started in September with visits on the different workplaces of the Brussels Transport Authority, and to encourage people to talk with us. That is, the first thing was, as I say, to raise awareness amongst staff and reinforce, strengthen that message, saying that sexism is unacceptable. And the third goal we had was to give the opportunity to victims to talk about about sexism they're subject to. And the channels that we use are several channels that people already know on sexism, and we also want to give the people tools they can use to fight these behaviors. And it is important also for the hierarchy to know what their responsibilities are. Finally, the social advisors and the confidential counselors. We added the trade union representatives. We followed a several day-long training, because it's very often the trade union representatives who are the first person that people turn to whenever they are confronted with sexist behavior. But if those people do not know what sexism is like, or if the people say that the victims are exaggerating. Many managers say, for example, yes, of course, we know that person. She's very well known for exaggerating every issue she comes across. Very often there is no help to that person. So our idea was to give an opportunity to all these people who are involved to be helping the victims. On one of our lines, we saw this picture, and it really made us laugh a lot. In our campaign, we wanted to say in our messages that sexism goes against the values of the Brussels Transport Authority, STIP, that sexism is forbidden by law, and that there are penalties for that, that sexism is not only an issue for women, that everyone is concerned, being it the perpetrators, the victims, and the witnesses. And we also explained that witnesses have a very important role to play in the fight against sexism. The base message being, let's talk about it, and please talk about it. So talking is really the message. Silence must be broken. We sometimes meet people who went through the same kind of situation, and talking about it with others allows you to overcome the frustration this situation generates. And for the managers, the message is intervene at once. So we divided the information in three facets. The first thing is to know what sexism is, what is its importance, what are the sanctions that are appending to it. The second one is to recognize sexism when it occurs, in part for the collaborators or staff members who follow our training. And then the third aspect is acting. What can we do as a manager? What can we do as a witness? And therefore we defined different dissemination channels. We have developed e-learnings. We prepared 3 video clips, posters. We have Z-cards, and our blue bus traveling all through the city that we use for several events, but that we will be also using internally from now on. As for the videos, we find again the three focuses: know, recognize, and act. And for recognizing, I want to show you a small video clip so you can see what our campaign looks like and the message we want to disseminate. We have three very different cases represented in these video clips. One situation relates to a bus driver, and this is what I'm going to show you. And then we have a situation depicted in an office, and finally an occurrence during the coffee break. This is Nadia. It's been years that she takes a bus. There are not many. It's a world where men are present. She's very strong, and she says no one considers her as one of us, and she realizes that. The remarks she receives seem innocent, but she feels not appreciated to her true value, and she feels not at ease. However, her workplace is supposed to be a safe place, and if you're a victim or witness of inappropriate behavior, talk about it. Say no to sexism, say yes to respect, or come to YouGo to find a solution to your problem, or scan this QR code. So this was one of the video clips, and in the third part we react. We show exactly the same video with the witnesses, the lady standing behind Naga, what she could have done if she was in her place. And we explained that these are things that are not tolerated within the Brussels Transport Authority. The work of Donatien counted with 10,000 workers for e-learning, and with these 2-minute clips. But this really represents a lot of work if everybody follows the e-learning. So we needed to have a very short version, shorter than the 1.5 hour of the training Donatien is taken care of. So we really went straight to the point, and we received very positive reactions from bus drivers, controllers, etc. So the e-learning indeed follows the same scenario. The first thing is to recognize, to know, to recognize, to act. In the first part, we talk about sexism, what has already been shown in the videos, and then we discuss around it to see what can be done and what are the sanctions that are pending to this behavior. And you have the e-learning is a open program. You can choose whatever you want to see. It is based on true cases, but they're totally fictitious situations. And now I'm going to let you hear one of the persons who participated. Her name is George. We tried not to concentrate or focus on women exclusively, but also for the LGBTI community, to show that men can also be victims of sexism, and to get away from this stereotype of it's always women who are affected. You want to know something? Well, I tell my manager that I have to stop a bit earlier. And then she says, this is not my job, this is my woman's job, but she works too. And of course, if you have this mentality, you will never be a manager. That's what I'm told. So what should I do? Leave my children at home, at school? So this is the example of George. We work with this kind of testimonies, and we talked with the actors who played the role of the witnesses, and they believe this is very interesting. A third part of the e-learning is action. And here we added a part for the managers, things that only managers can be aware of, and how they're supposed to react. And we practice the actions that have to be taken, so that the people know exactly what they have to do. So what remains to be done now? The next step, the staff on the field will follow this e-learning. And this, as a matter of fact, is part of our plan aiming at fighting sexism at the workplace. And the idea is having all our staff members able to take care of a victim of harassment or sexism. I can't promise, of course, that all our staff members will be fit, psychologically speaking, to take care of the victims, but at least that they can show a minimum of empathy with the victims, and that they know where to direct the victims to, because some people are suffering shock when they are subject to this kind of behavior. All the information which is important is given, and then the victim is sent to the police station or to a telephone number in order to get over the problem. The campaign is still ongoing. We are discussing about the organization of the campaign. We would like it to be compulsory, and by the end of June I will return to the Commission just to make sure that this campaign becomes compulsory for all workers. So I thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you were able to follow my presentation, and I wish you a pleasant afternoon.